The Evermore podcast is now sponsored by WFST Total Compliance. WFST provides fire safety requirements UK-wide to prepare you and your employees should the worst happen. Do what you do best and visit wfst.co.uk today. Enjoy the episode. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel and podcast. It's Chris and Mark back on a Monday night at 9:30, the new time. We're asking the same question we do every single week. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on, Mark. It was the show before Christmas, and all through the house, nothing was stirring, not even a mouse. But hang on a second. What was that? It's knocked over the Christmas tree. It's the bloody podcast. That's what's going on, mate. How are you?
Well done. I like it. I like it.
Why not? Dr. Zeus, eat your heart out, mate. Dr. Zeus, eat your heart. As everybody can see, we are wearing our Christmas tops tonight, as we are here. So Eddie Howe may have cancelled the Christmas do, but this is our Christmas do, so to speak, for you wonderful viewers in the chat. So we hope you enjoy. But what's going on with you, Mark? How have you been?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's been a fairly decent weekend. Nearly set for Christmas. Big guys coming, and I don't mean Steve Bruce.
He'd be late. He'd make excuses that the reindeers couldn't run in that particular formation. Probably if Steve Bruce was Santa, I think.
He'd still be playing five at the back with him, wouldn't he?
He probably would be, mate. Yeah, but that's good. You're all set for Christmas. Well, you filled in admirably, it must be said, for the post-match analysis for the Fulham game at the weekend, as I was otherwise engaged. I was actually up in the town when the second half had finished, and I couldn't watch the second half. But I did happen to hear some Fulham fans on their way to the local Waitrose who were saying they were absolutely disgusted at the state of the football at St. James's Park. And who is this Lewis Miley? What a disgraceful young man he was. That's what they said as they were off to get their gravel axe and their dips from Waitrose. We've got loads to get stuck into, as always, tonight. And as it's the last show before Christmas, we'll have a bumper edition here as well. But just before we do, as we always say, if you like what you're watching, you haven't watched us before, smash that subscribe. We'd love you to come and join us. We are over 6K for Christmas, which is amazing. Thank you so much to all you great people who clicked that button. You will be announcing the prize winner tonight by random Bo Selector in a little bit. So make sure you check that out, guys. If you've already got your comments in to the 6K video, you will be in for the draw. And we are live tonight. As always, jump in the comments, as a few of you already have. Simon is in the house. We've also got Stu Mag is there. George is here. Ian is here as well. 66 has joined the party. Roger, the Artful Dodger, is also here. Abacus, counting you as well. Boom, boom. Segue. And we've got David Veach as well, who's saying the cat is causing havoc as usual. He's not even moved yet, David. I was just preempting it. To be fair.
He's not in the house, so he's currently playing out. I don't know where the hell he is doing.
Hang on a second. Mark, have you got your ear pierced? Have you got all wham as well, like Jason Tindall, mate? Is that what you've done?
I have not. They are
not got your earpiece. No, he's just got
headphones.
You've got earpieces in 66. Yeah, there'll be no Club Tropicana tonight. No chance. We haven't had the bevies yet, so we'll be singing that one anytime soon. But we've got loads to get stuck into. Let's kick it off, Mark. There is only one place to start, and it was that win at the weekend. Yes, I did watch the game when I was finished with my evening festivities with my lovely lady up in Newcastle. I did go and see a couple who had a podcast that's slightly bigger than ours, and it was quite fun and enjoyable. So that was really a really good time. But obviously, I did watch the Newcastle United highlights, the first chance I got. And there was only one place to start, Mark, really, wasn't it? And it was that young boy, that star boy, Miley Stone moment, as we've called it. Louis Miley's first goal for Newcastle. That's right, mainstream media. Louis Miley, not Lewis Miley. That is driving me up the fucking wall, that is. But, mate, how good was that kid's first goal for the club?
Yeah, I mean, I said this on Saturday, didn't I? It's one of those where it's sort of written in the stars for to be at home, to be in front of the Gallagher, for it to be the way that it's sort of done. Bruno's taken some stick over recent weeks. I think possibly unfairly at times, but I think he's he's possibly deserved a little bit at times, because he has looked a little bit off his game. But that run through he gets a little bit lucky with the bounce through to Miley in the end. But look, the lad takes it, and he's so calm in sort of firing it across the goalkeeper and into the far post. It just shows an unbelievable level of maturity from the kid to be put in that position, to come into the game as well on the back of Joe Linton being injured. Another one we'll come to.
Go on to that, yeah.
But we came on, he was utterly exceptional. Again, it fascinates me, actually, because when you watch him, his movement around the pitch, his ability to just find those little spaces and pull players with him, and he just shows such awareness of where to go on the field and where everybody else is in relation to him. He's exceptional, and he's just going to get better and better, isn't he? And it's so nice to see him get off the mark. He's got his first assist. He's now got his first goal. The sky's the limit for the kid.
Absolutely. And a lovely comment there from Dean. His interview was class. You can see how excited he was. Well, what I loved about the interview the most was Dan Burmers with him, almost like his minder. And he spoke really well, actually, Louis, to be fair. I was expecting like a really nervous, kind of broken voice, but he was quite calm. He was quite, eloquent. He was smiling, obviously, with the goal. Then Dan Burn just turned around and said, basically, he's done so well. He said, to get a goal at 17, he went, it's amazing. And he said, he's such a lovely lad as well. He went, actually makes me hate him more because he's such a nice lad, which was class. Because Dan Burn's banter is just top draw, to be fair. But you're right, Mark. I mean, the kid is special. I mean, some people might say, we're being hyperbolic, but I think Simon's got it on the money here. Lewis Miley's really is such an exciting talent. You can even see Bruno just startled how good he is for so young. Bruno said that a couple of times. I can't believe how good he is at 17 years old. And it's just that pure mentality, isn't it, Mark? You can have ability, you can have pace, you can have power, you can have skill. Ronaldo at 18 was doing, loads of tricks and step overs and flicks and all that stuff. But you look at Lewis Miley, and it's the brain. So behind that baby face, that there's like a 27-year-old veteran with 60 caps mentality in there. The way that the lad can adapt his game when he needs to at such a young age. And we'll come on to Lewis Hall in a minute, maybe some of the reasons why this isn't quite going as well for Lewis Hall. But it's a mentality thing. I always remember, we're of an age when we remember the class of 92 coming through at Manchester United. And it wasn't just the ability with those lads, Mark. It was the mentality that they all had. And you see them talking at length on documentaries, the sacrifices they made, the friends they had to leave behind, all these things. And when you see Lewis Miley, you get that vibe off him. You get that kind of vibe off a lad who's willing to sacrifice all those other things to not go out with his mates that he maybe wants to go out with, and just concentrate on his game. And I mean, for a long time in the background, I think you'd have to be, probably a Newcastle fan to hear this, but a long time in the background, this name has been, whispered in certain corridors about, listen, we've got this kid coming through and he's this and he's that. But, I don't think any of us were expecting him to be as good as he's been, and it's really softened that Sandro Tonali blow, Mark, hasn't it, in terms of missing him as a player for the squad when you see how good this kid is.
Sandro who?
Exactly, mate. Imagine what he's thinking. A penny for his thoughts looking at this kid progressing the way he is.
I mean, I think everybody, I was so excited to see Tonali play, weren't we? And given his ability and what he's done in Serie A, and obviously for the Italy side, and certainly for the under 21 Italy side, the sort of the expectation there was quite high, and there's still a huge feeling of disappointment with that whole thing, and there will be, I think, right until the end, whether he plays again, he doesn't play again, what have you. But much of that's almost been forgotten now, because this gem has appeared, and not out of nowhere, because those within the club, those who follow the
progress of the lad,
the teams, sort of like the younger teams and stuff. Sorry, I couldn't get my words out. Those who follow like the younger teams and the progression of the academy players and the reserves, that sort of thing, have seen the kid play and know what a talent he's looked at that level. And then there's the question of what he can do when he steps up. And I guess what we saw in the summer, didn't we, that there were flashes of him. He looks
in the pre-season tour.
Yeah.
And that was against proper players as well. That wasn't against
exactly.
mugs. That was against starting 11 players, and you knew watching him, didn't you? I think it was Brighton, wasn't it? There was a couple of times he took a touch and whipped it around somebody, and you thought, oh, hang on a minute, this kid looks like he's got something here.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the question is, well, can he bring that to the first team? Can he bring it regularly to the Premier League, to cup games, and maybe we'll see him in the Carabao Cup this season.
Yeah.
We're not likely to see him play in the Champions League or really regularly in the Premier League. Well, yeah, and he stood out
effortlessly tackle Mbappe. We didn't think we were going to see that, did we?
And just, I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about it. The kid being, would go on and go. It's like Dan Burn, 6'7". We have to mention the fact that Lewis Miley, who slipped into it there, Louis Miley is 17, and he's outshone hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of £1 million worth of players against the likes of Manchester United and PSG,
Chelsea,
and Milan,
Chelsea,
and the list goes on. And he comes on again at the weekend and he outshines the likes of Pelini, who's highly rated, and it's a phenomenal performance. I can't come back to the fact that he comes in cold because he's had to rush in the fact that Joe Linton's gone off injured, and his temperament is there, his work ethic is there. He's got the right head on his shoulders. I agree with that comment before about the dressing room as well. It is the perfect environment to bring him into, because he will be nurtured, and he will be looked after by all of those, those professionals that are in there, and this whole family unit that the club has become. Is just the perfect place for him to grow as a footballer.
It absolutely is. Sai's saying there, he keeps saying it, but Miley's height and frame reminds him of Yaya Toure. Jesus Christ, if he's half the player that guy turned out to be, what a career he's going to have, Sai. But as you just said there, but I think for me, again, there's no better time for a gem like this to appear in the Newcastle United setup, because I actually wrote a piece earlier on about this, didn't I? And I don't know whether it's going to get put on somebody's site or not. We're made to be seen. We don't do our site anymore, so hopefully I might get it out there. And, we'll give you guys a shout for the link on it. But I said this is a perfect time for a player of Miley's ability and potential to appear, because Newcastle are no longer that club who sells those gems. We're no longer that club who sells a Gaza, a Waddle, a Beardsley back in the day to Liverpool, Andy Carroll. We're not that club anymore. We're here to find these players and develop them. I mean, the academy's not been great over the years. There's probably been a handful of players, decent players. If you talk about players who really made you go, wow, hang on a minute, Jesus Christ, look at him, you're probably going to have to go back to Andy Carroll for the last one, I think. With the number 9 shirt on, terrorising defences week in and week out in the Premier League before he was sold for a ridiculous amount of money. Louis Miley has come into this setup, and as you say, Mark, even with the players around him, he's got a much better quality of player around him than the likes of Longstaff did when he first come through. The likes of Dummett, the likes of Stevie Taylor, all those kind of guys. He's got a better group of players around him, and he's actually performing alongside them toe to toe with Bruno, with Joe, and he's standing out in amongst 2 Brazilian internationals. And that's even more testament to how good this lad is. I mean, what he reminds me of, and again, this might be total hyperbolic, but he reminds me of that buzz that City had. Yeah, well, it's not like any Newcastle fan, is it, mate? But it reminds me of that buzz that City had around Phil Foden. That buzz of having that kid behind the scenes that everybody knew was just this unbelievably young, talented superstar player in the making. But you have to have the right manager to develop it. And by God, we've got the right manager to develop this kid right now, Mark, haven't we? I mean, what could he become under Eddie Howe, man?
Yeah, and I think that is the overriding factor in where Louis Miley is. And I hate to bring his name up because we do mention him far too much on this. Can you imagine what would happen if he came through under Bruce?
Under Bruce, oh my God!
Can you imagine?
We would have sold him. We would have sold him, mate.
He would,
in the January window, probably.
The lack of progressiveness in his game, or the lack of development that he have. Development, that was the word I was looking for before. The development teams. The lack of development that he would have in his game, because he would be stifled. He wouldn't be allowed to be the player that he is. And anyhow, again, when you go back through what he's done since he's been at the club, that the start, and it wasn't a terrific start. We'll all acknowledge that. But the signs were there early on about the way that he wanted his team to play. And then the progression from the likes of Miggy and Joe Linton, and now Lascelles and Sean Longstaff and
Anderson,
everybody else, Anderson as well. So there's loads that you can go through. Emil Kraft looked brilliant again, and I gave him huge props at the week, because I thought he was really, really good at the weekend.
We'll get onto the team, but I think Kraft will start tomorrow. We'll get onto the team in a minute for tomorrow's game. But I think you're right, Mark. I mean, again, we'll come on just briefly to the rest of the lads. I know you covered it brilliantly in the post match, but just the buzz and excitement around this kid right now. I mean, the way he's playing, we've seen so many different clubs that he's got in the bag already at 17 years old, and he reminds me of those kind of players when they come through. You know, it's obviously a different environment because they were much bigger clubs. But like when Stevie Gerrard came through at Liverpool, and you saw this little gangly kid come on, you thought, "Fucking hell, he looks a player." You know, and we've got a player like that now in and amongst our side, and at the minute, I don't see how taking him out in terms of his strongest 11. I see Louis being in that strongest 11 right now on form. I know he rested him anyway, is what he called. He didn't drop me, rested him, because he wanted to manage his minutes, and he obviously wants to manage the expectations. Yeah. And then Louis comes off the bench and does that and just raises the expectations again. But I think the kid has broad enough shoulders to take it. He looks totally unfazed. You know, it reminds me a lot of, you know, in terms of the mentality and that ability at such a young age to just take that pressure on. You know, was like Michael Carrick when he was at West Ham and then he went to Spurs. You know, everyone was going, "Oh my God, look at this young lad! Look how good he is on the ball." And then he went to Man United and he just kept stepping up and up and up. And you know, the difference is, I think that Louis can realise what he wants to realise at Newcastle United, because the club is going in the right place. And you hit the nail on the head, Mark. You know, you look at poor Matty Longstaff under Steve Bruce. If Matty Longstaff had broke through under Eddie Howe, who knows what he could have been for Newcastle United. You know, and it's just such a shame that he broke through into the wrong manager. But thank God, probably one of the most talented youngsters we've had in years has broke through with this manager at the helm, because he knows exactly how to get the best out of him. And I'm so excited to see how the kid progresses, Mark. Really, I really am.
Yeah, completely. It's one of the way you're almost wishing for a few years to go past, just to see where he's got to,
where he is.
And it's just, yeah, and it's that now. It's just about watching him progress and watching him develop as a footballer under Howe, and maybe he's breaking into that England side over the next 18 months. I mean,
who knows? He could be an outside bet for that European Championships, mate. Could be an outside bet.
It's funny. I was going to say that, and I thought, is that too much? But actually, it is. If he continues to perform the way that he is, why not? Because he's shown that he's good enough and he can go toe to toe with some of the best in the world. So why the hell not? If he carries on like this, take him.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. 100%. And Andy's saying that Miley's a silver lining of our injury list. 100%. There's no doubt about that. How much time would he have had in midfield if everybody was fit? Probably just the odd sub appearances. Yeah, you're right. He's going to save his millions. But the thing with this, Andy, I always say this is, you know, opportunity knocks for young players when injuries happen. You know, you look at all the cracking. You think of the cracking players that the Premier League has seen in England have had over the years. You know, Wayne Rooney comes in because somebody's injured at Everton, does what he does. Steven Gerrard comes in at Liverpool because somebody's injured. Michael Owen comes in because I think Robbie Fowler's injured at Liverpool. You know, Beckham, you know, all those kind of players, they all come in because somebody's either injured, suspended, or, I mean, in the case of Manchester United, he had the balls to sell about 5 first-team players, didn't he? Replace some of these young kids, and that was a big gamble for Ferguson, but he did it well, and it paid off because he knew these kids were going to step up and do the job. And Louis Miley, for me, is honestly, I'm buzzing. I've not been that excited about a young prospect since Carroll was just absolutely terrorizing defenders, as Splat 1000 says there. He was brutal, and other players were shit scared of him. They really were. He was like some kind of remember the Kurgan from the Highlander. He was like that when he was just running around wielding a sword and just fucking getting everybody. That's what Carroll was like when he was wearing that number 9.
Weird. That was on the other night as well. I started watching that.
What a movie! What a movie! Happy Halloween, ladies! What a fucking movie! But yeah, Carroll was tremendous when he broke through, and he was the last one, I think, where everybody looked at Newcastle and went, "Wow, look at that player they produced." And it's been way too long. I mean, you look at the academy now; we've had to go and buy young players from all around Europe, really, to try and improve that quality. But yeah, Louis could easily be the centrepiece. But just talking a little bit about the rest of the performance of the lads before we move on to the next one. I mean, as it said there, Kraft was brilliant. I thought Byrne was really good as well, solid. Gets his goal. I thought he did really well at full back, and then he slipped into centre half, and I thought he did excellently there as well. Livramento again. Gordon looked good, although he wasn't full kind of Gordon because he's tiring a little bit, and unfortunately for him, there's not a lot of players out there to relieve the pressure on him. Wilson looks sharp, and overall, I think it was a good performance. But I must say, Christmas is coming. Okay, guys, everybody in the comments, can somebody please buy Marco Silva a pair of glasses and send them down to him in London? Because how in the name of sweet Jesus Christ, Mark, does he not think that's a red card? It was like fucking UFC or something when it was like a flying knee. I mean, what was he doing? What was you could see he changed in midair. If you ever want to see a player in midair who goes, "Oh shit, I've really made a mistake here," that was Jimenez, wasn't it? Really, in that tackle, he knew he was done when it went to the monitor, mate.
I mean, you're looking at it being WWE sort of stuff, aren't you? From it being that sort of high kick to a, I mean, he just wallops through him, completely takes him out at head height. And I don't know how you can even look at that and think it might have been a yellow. I understand Marco Silva's frustration with the foul beforehand. I kind of see that, and to be honest, when I was doing the post match, I didn't really look at that too much in terms of what Lascelles had just done to Jimenez. I think Lascelles has got away with one there. Not that I think it was a red card or anything like that. I just think he's got away with a bit of a dig on it. It's probably a foul. Those you miss. Those don't get given an awful lot. But for them to Jimenez to lose his mind at that point and do what he's doing, what are you doing, lad? I mean, he was going to be a threat. I think during that game, I thought Fulham would play through to him, and he would become a difficult player to manage, especially with Fabian Schär being missing, and just thought that's their avenue. And then to go out and do something like that, but Silva to come out and he was bitching and moaning about how Fulham didn't get free kicks. Well, I think the count was 12-7, so you did get your free kicks.
Yeah,
you may not have got your yellow cards that you wanted for nothing, but it wasn't as one-sided on the foul count as he sort of was making out. I mean, it's just another one that's had a massive whinge. You can put him in the Klopp Arteta bracket as salty tears from him from his team.
Yeah, maybe not as bad as those two. I do like Marco Silva, but he's definitely dropped the bollock there. Simon saying on Match of the Day, Danny Murphy said his bum was out of control, which is the most insightful he's ever been in analysis. To be fair, Danny Murphy's face does look a bit like an arse cheek, so maybe he just he was an expert to comment on that. Really, Simon, and over for headers, but it was a ridiculous tackle. It really was. There's no defense in that. You can see Jimenez's face. Everyone's got that look when they go, "Oh, they just dropped the bollock," and that was Jimenez all over the place, absolutely. But it was bloody terrible, and rightly so, a red card. But it was a great win, and I think it was a win that was needed as well. Eddie's not under pressure by any of the fan base locally, but you could hear the shit houses nationally were starting to sharpen the blades a little bit. I did my rant about Jason Cundy with a silent T talking bollocks, on that station where bollocks is just like oxygen, it's in the air. But he's not under any pressure from us. But I think if we hadn't won that game, they might have come from a little bit, Mark, as well, hadn't they? So it was good to get that win under the belt and to keep in that race for the top four as well.
I think some of the more fickle ones might have had something to say, especially after the team going out on Wednesday. But look, you have to look at it in where it is in the scenario of the season with the number of injuries and stuff, and it can get a tired narrative for people. And they don't want to keep hearing the same thing. But while you are short of so many players, you're going to hear the same thing. And Newcastle have done incredibly well with a short number of players that they have to get through this period of time. And they've done bloody well during it as well. You think of the results that have gone on in this period. They're ridiculous. Incredible. And Wednesday night was awful. Nobody wanted to see that happen. But they haven't think you said at the time, and I think a lot of people said in the comment of it, there was no disgrace in going out the way that they went out. They went out guns blazing, effectively going to try and win the game and stay in the Champions League. And look, if your team is going to go out and put an effort in to try and win a game and you lose, fine. I can live with that. If they've rolled over and just gone, no, we're done, we're going to be out, we'll leave it then I have a problem with you. But if you're going to go out like that, then absolutely fine. Like, you can't get knocked for that.
No, I mean, we went out swinging, unlike Manchester United, who went out whimpering completely. Jens is saying Sean's dad played hockey in Sweden. I doubt he'd ever saw such a violent tackle during his career. It was definitely one for the sin bin, I think, wasn't it?
Definitely. I saw a few of games where he would have been playing for Whitley against the likes of Wasps and stuff. And let me tell you, there were some tasty sort of games in there where there was some brutal stuff. And I'm not sure anything compared to what Jimenez put on Sean.
Certainly not from a football sense, but it was a great win, great result for the lads. And there was something else that was great that happened at the game. It's a festive season, and Newcastle United fans decide to serenade the management team with a bit of a Christmas classic. If anyone was at the game, you would have heard it, and it's been doing the rounds on social media. And what it was the famous hit by Wham! Last Christmas, but at the end, when they say, was it this year, Save Me From Tears, rather than I'll give it to someone special, I'll give it to Jason Tyndall. And the whole crowd started singing it. They were walking around. Matt Ritchie was pissing himself, pointing to JT. Mad Dog was listening and smiling. And then some genius on the internet decided to mock up a picture, Mark, which I think you're going to pull up in a second, which depicted the dynamic duo as Wham! From Last Christmas. And this, honestly, I don't know what's more scary, the fact that these hairdos just work with their faces completely and utterly. They look like a fantastic pop duo from the 80s, but somebody's even mocked up a Christmas jumper of this already, and there's no doubt in my mind that Eddie and JT have seen that, probably. Mad Dog has seen that, so that is fucking amazing, that, isn't it?
It is phenomenal. I said to you before it came on, I wanted to have that as the intro for it, and I thought it's just going to get sued. Copyrighted.
Yeah,
let's not go down that route. But it was. I mean, that was funny. Well done. Whoever's come up with that is just brilliant.
Genius.
Really good.
We can't even remember.
I can get behind.
Oh yeah, we can't even remember who it was to give them the credit, which we always do, But it was absolutely superb. The guys in the comments are loving it as well. It was absolutely superb. It really was. And was that clicked on the wrong one there? Sorry, beg your pardon. Oh, there we go. Clicked on the wrong one there. But it was a fantastic bit of crack as well, I must admit. And I wonder what other Christmas songs Newcastle fans might come up with. Maybe All I Want for Christmas Is Lou, possibly Lewis Miley. Maybe that'll be the next one that comes off the old arena as well, which will be superb, I'm sure. But it was great to see the Newcastle fans in such great spirit from a brilliant one. But there was a little bit of bar humbug going on as well. More injuries, Mark. The mountain up. Obviously, we lost Fabian Schär early doors, which apparently is only a glute injury, so it's not too bad. But I'm not sure he'll be risked tomorrow. He might be out for a couple of weeks at the very least. Joe Linton went down as well. That one looks a bit of a sore one. Obviously, thankfully Louis Miley come on and did what he did, which we've just been discussing at length. But these injury lists just are not getting any better, are they, mate? Really, and people have even asked whether there's going to be an internal review, in terms of the procedures. I don't know, the advice, whatever it is, all this stuff for Harvey Barnes coming out about the operation. What's your take on all these injuries, Mark? Is it just too much football?
It's well. I think some of them are obviously because the squad's depleted anyway, and you are having players play more minutes than they possibly would normally. You've obviously got the extra time, and I said this on Saturday and in the post match. There was 17 or 18 minutes of extra time added to that game on Saturday. I mean, you're looking at another 20-25% of your game time at times on top of 90 minutes at full tilt. These things are going to happen more and more, and you've seen the number of injuries. And I said this again: look at the ones that have happened at Man U and Spurs and things. And this is, I think this is the until they've changed the whole thing with regards to added time. I think we'll continue to see some of this. The other side of it is, it's just how much effort these players are putting in. and that absolutely shows. And there will be breakdowns, and the amount of work the players get through in training and in games is phenomenal. It's something that for Newcastle fans you've not seen before. You look at the amount of running that they do in every game. It's something you've not seen for decades, probably.
Is that a question that Simon's got a valid question there? I think it's something I've asked before as well. Is our intensity too intense? Do we need to adjust our style to play over the long term? That's a very good question.
I think there's probably a balance to be found in terms of the intensity at times during the game, and not 90 minutes worth of it. And I think over recent weeks, you've probably seen a little bit of that creep in, where there are lulls in the game when Newcastle are trying to control it a little bit more by just keeping the ball. They've struggled at times in certain games just to just knock it around, just slow the pace down a little bit. And I think there's some of that, especially with some of the, if you look at some of the sides on the continent, they have that intensity for part of the game, but then they just stop. And the ball just gets, exactly, and they give themselves 10 minutes a breather, and they'll pass it around, it'll go backwards and forwards, and it's slow, and some of it's quite dull, but there's method in that madness because they're waiting for the opportunity to then burst. And I think Newcastle have got to learn a little bit of that going forward, especially with a smaller squad at the moment. They've just got to hold a little bit before they go again. But everything that they've done so far pretty much has worked. I think the biggest downfall at the moment is just the lack of quality of depth in the squad. You add a few more to that, and that's suddenly not so much of an issue because you can rest, you can give players minutes off the field, and those injuries probably don't happen as much. So the squad gets bigger, this becomes less of an issue. But for now, I think there's sort of a happy medium to be found.
And there will be, I think there will be at least 3 in January, if not more, especially with them potentially looking at the Saudi market as well with loans. So I think in terms of fattening out the quality of that squad, maybe moving some of the lesser players, maybe away on loan at the Championship, whatever, and replacing them with quality. I think there is going to be some surgery done on the Newcastle squad as a whole. Maybe not so much the starting 14. There might be 1 or 2 brought in here or there, but I think that kind of 16 to 18 squad, I think there'll definitely be some quality brought in. Tocoin has come up with a belter Newcastle United Christmas carol there. Simply having a wonderful Wilson time. That is fantastic. I can hear that one getting pumped out at St James's Park pretty soon. Tocoin, that is a superb one, mate. Absolutely brilliant.
Keep them coming.
Oh, keep them coming. Absolutely, we love a bit of the old Toon Christmas carols, but yeah, hopefully we can get some of the lads back, come January, and then add some additions, and we're maybe not looking too bad. We're going to get stuck into the Chelsea game now, probably, Mark. We'll move on to this. Actually, before we do, we'll talk about Lewis Hall. We have talked about this before, and it's starting to come a lot more prominent, I think, in the mainstream media. Eddie's press conference was quite telling, I felt. Everyone was asking, where's Lewis Hall? Why is Lewis Hall not getting any game time? Why is he not playing? All this other stuff. He came against Manchester United in the Carabao Cup, fun enough, in the last round, and he was brilliant. He scored a good goal. I think defensively, he does look a little bit naive. He sometimes gets caught out in terms of his positional sense. That's something he needs to work on. But something seems to be going on behind the scenes with Lewis Hall. In the press conference, Eddie was asked about Lewis Hall meeting certain criteria for the move to become permanent. Eddie was quite evasive about it and said that, he has to meet those criteria. And I can't remember who the journalist was, whether it was Craig Hope or whether it was maybe Simon Bird, had asked, is he meeting that criteria? Will he be a Newcastle player next year? And Eddie turned to the left to obviously get that kind of guidance from somebody else in the club. And they were very cagey about it, Mark. So, in your opinion, I know I've got my theory. I'll let you go first, though. What do you think's going wrong with Lewis Hall? What's happening?
It's an odd one, isn't it? Because I think last week, and I put this in our group, funnily enough, just before all of this broke, and if you go back through the timeline, because I kind of think I jumped on the back of it, but I really didn't. But I didn't put any of my thoughts out online for anybody. But it was a case of what is the issue? Is we've seen when he started, he's come off early. When he's the opportunity for him to come on in games especially when you go back to that Milan game, the PSG game where players were out on their feet. The lack of feeling of bringing somebody like that on who can give you fresh legs in the last 5 or 10 minutes, and it's been an odd one. I thought he's not hit the heights that the likes of Livramento have done, but there's definitely a player in there, and I think it's just maybe he's one that just needs a little bit more time to find his feet a little bit in the Eddie Howe way, and maybe Eddie's being a little bit coy on the whole thing, and obviously he's got to be careful about what he says because there are implications in terms of the full deal later on. And Marcus has just dropped one in the chat there. Gordon when he first joined. That's where I was kind of heading.
That's true. Yeah.
If you look at Gordon when he started, he didn't quite get it. He had that little bit of a fallout. Was it at Bournemouth when he got taken off and he wasn't happy and it didn't quite fit. But he spent time training with the team and getting to understand exactly what Eddie Howe wants out of him. And look at him this season; he's been a completely different player. And I think we'll probably see that from Lewis Hall. But the other side is, does he know what he wants to be? Does he want to be fullback? Does he want to be a midfielder? And does he fit into Eddie Howe's thinking? If he wants to play further forward, does he want to be that player? Or can he be that player? Does Eddie trust him enough to be there? I think some of the journalists have said that look, he's definitely going to be a Newcastle player at the end of the season. That there are certain criteria that I think was it Hope put out a comment earlier on to say it wasn't based on game time. The deal, it was about other sort of success criteria. But it is an interesting one. I really hope the lad does do well because he looks like he will be a player. It's just taken him a little bit too long to in sort of people's eyes. It's taken a little bit too long to get there. But basing that on the fact that we've seen such an impact from the likes of Livramento, who came in same time and has hit the ground running.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and Roger's saying the same thing as well. Does he want to be a left back? I mean, I find it really hard to believe that conversation wasn't had before the deal was done. And when you look at Lewis Hall, loads of players adapt their game. Gareth Bale's a perfect example. Joe Linton's a good example as well. Adapting your game to a different position and making that position your own. Now, rightly or wrongly, I think it was Frank Lampard threw Lewis Hall in at left back, and he looked fantastic. He had that Andy Robertson type vibe about him, being able to get up and down the pitch. And Andy Robertson's a really good player for Hall to look at and maybe think, right, maybe I can model my game on what that guy does, because he's probably been the best left back, Christ, certainly in the Premier League, if not in European football for the past decade, probably is Andy Robertson. And I think Lewis Hall could be that type of player. I think he's there is a bit of a standoff, I think, because he wants to play further apart. And when you watch him play, he's always in the box, isn't he, Lewis Hall? The rare moments you get, you always see him just kind of flying up into the box behind Callum Wilson or Isak or something. You think, fucking hell, the left back's up there again. So he has got that attacking, bite in him to get up there. But it's the defensive part of his game that probably, you're right, Mark, Eddie doesn't trust him maybe there because of that defensive naivety is there, that he'll go flying at the pitch looking for an attack and then put us under pressure. It's the same kind of thing you had with Maxi, if you remember, when Maxi wouldn't press and he took Maxi out, didn't he? And he wouldn't play a Maxi. So something needs to be addressed behind the scenes. But I'd like to think, Hall's only 18 years old. Eddie's a really good man manager and a good coach. Hall's obviously got this affection for Newcastle because of his family as well. So I'd like to think all parties can get on the same page here, and Hall can settle down and figure out what position that he wants to be in. Eddie can help progress him in that position, and then the lad can settle down and sign for Newcastle next season, and we can maybe see him become the player that that we want to be. But for me, I never saw him in youth academy football. I've seen YouTube clips and stuff for that, but he's a really, really good modern day fullback. He just needs to work on that defensive part of his game. And he's got one of the best in the business in training day in, day out, in Kieran Trippier, who can do both on a regular basis. And Tino looks like he can do both as well. So Lewis Hall doesn't have to look very far for role models, Mark. And maybe it's just about the lad getting his mind right in terms of what he wants to be at Newcastle, do you think, as well?
Possibly, yeah. I think it's all about the way that he's conducting himself on and off the field. I think that
He's
Eddie
got a
is
bad
looking
attitude.
at.
He's got a bad attitude.
I don't think there's a bad attitude there. I think you see the effort and you see what he puts in all the time. I just think there's a level of commitment to this process that Eddie wants, and whether or not he's seen that, that's pure speculation on my part as to whether that's being seen, and whether that and that trust word comes back as to whether he does just trust him yet to come in and do what he wants him to do. But look, he's got plenty of time. We're only in December. He's got until the end of the season. There's a long way to go. There's still plenty of football. There's cup runs to consider before anything else like that happens. So he's got plenty of time to stake his claim for staying permanently, if that's even a question. And it might not even be. It might just be that the club are really choosing the way that they look at this carefully, the way that they talk about this really carefully. But
yeah,
he can definitely be a part. He can. We've seen flashes. We've seen what he could do in the few games that we saw when he was at Chelsea. We've seen in sort of bits where what he can do for Newcastle. I mean, and somebody put it in the chat before, the goal he scores against Manchester United is exceptional, and I thought he played really, really well. So there's definitely prospect there, and still he's only 19 as well. So look, I think maybe some people have been a little bit too harsh on him. Maybe he's expecting too much too soon based on what we've seen from other people. But the time will tell with this. It is an interesting conversation because there are so many different factors as to what they're looking at. And I did find that press conference question a little odd. That
it was weird.
That Eddie Howe had to look elsewhere for the criteria based on it.
That's what made me uncomfortable about it, when he had looked to his left as if something wasn't quite right. And I thought,
it's almost looking for, well, what can I say legally and get away with without jeopardizing anything else? And that almost didn't sit right with me. And it's not often I can say that about, because we know that Eddie's so eloquent. He's so well, he does the press conferences, and he does it when he's talking about players so well. And for him to almost stumble at that point and be like, what can I say? It was an odd thing, but look, I'm still convinced that I think we'll see much more of him as the season progresses, because I think he'll be needed, but I also think he'll prove himself in training and in games when he comes on, that he'll be given the opportunity to put more minutes on the field and get more starts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to remember, and we're also haven't seen a great deal of him, but he's played at Old Trafford. He's played in Dortmund. He's played in some big games so far. He's had a chance. Yes, he played against City. Yes, he got hooked at half time. But I agree with you. I think there is. It's not like there's no road back there. I think we're not privy to what's going on behind the scenes, but I would back Howe's ability as a manager, his ability as a coach, to get the young lad back on track. And if Lewis Hall's having a bit of a crisis of identity about where he wants to play, Howe is such a methodical, analytical bloke. You'll probably have him sat down in that fucking cinema room in the training ground, showing him clips of him playing for Chelsea, even at left back, on, look how you're influencing the game there. Look at your speed, look at your crossing. It's not your fault Mudryk's shit, he can't finish. If that was Callum Wilson or Isak, you'd be getting an assist, and then saying to, look at Kieran Trippier, only Bruno Fernandes has more I think, passes attempted than him in the Premier League. Only De Bruyne had more assists than him last season, and that's from the fullback position. So, if Hall wants that glory of being somebody who influences the game, you can do it from the left fullback position. And I just really hope that Newcastle make this work, because I was so excited when we signed them, and I really don't want this to go a bit sour. If it does, it does, but I really hope that it doesn't, and I think it'll be testament to how good Eddie is as a manager. I think Marcus is saying there as well. He's saying Eddie's more of a coach than an administrative manager. He's definitely like a president of a company. I predict Eddie will hit 60% win percentage at Newcastle. He probably will. He probably will have the biggest win percentage at Newcastle. Simon's saying he's nothing against the lad at all, but it's not a ringing endorsement for the manager to say he's not sure if he'll be kept on, because let's face it, if that was the vibe from how in the summer, loan or buy. I mean, there is that question mark as well, isn't it? Is this an Ashworth buy or is this a Howe buy, Lewis Hall? And there is that element of doubt there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess that's a question, but they've got to work in tandem and they've got to work hand in hand to find the right place. It's an interesting way you sort of brought up the City game, and that was one of the games where he was hooked at half time.
And so was Lewis Miley. So
he was, and I think there's a little bit of hindsight, sort of 2020 with that game, and that you win the game and you look back on it fondly.
It's a good tactical decision. Yeah.
In the first half, Newcastle couldn't get anywhere near the ball. I mean, City were awful up top. They couldn't get anywhere near the goal. Obviously, with Haaland not playing, and they never looked likely to score. But for 45 minutes, Newcastle really couldn't get close to the ball. The changes Eddie Howe made at half-time tactically changed the game. And then they came out in the second half and were brilliant. So it's maybe a little harsh on him that's what's remembered, particularly in that one, in the fact that he was hooked at half-time. But it was a change of mentality, a change of sort of process in that game to be able to stem what City were doing. And that's probably no slight on him. It needed a change of direction. It needed different personnel doing different things on the field in the second half, and it worked. Yeah. So that's a little bit too much to give him pelters for that one. But look, like I say, he's got plenty of time. He's got the ability to turn everybody's mind around, and I think some of the comments in there, I genuinely believe he'll get more chances as the season goes on, as he provides more and more evidence that he can do it. And it's just an interesting conversation. It'll be interesting to see where this goes come the summer as to what he's done over the next 6 months to warrant that £28 million fee. Because on certain viewings, 28 million would seem like a snip for him. But if he doesn't put in the performance, 28 million is a lot of money to throw at a 19, 20-year-old kid that hasn't done anything at that point. So
you're right. I mean, Ty's asking about Harrison Ashby. He was doing really well for Swansea, but he's back. He's injured, I think. So I don't know if when he gets fit, we'll send him back. But he's had a good season so far, Mark, hasn't he, in terms of assists and defensively as well. He's looked quite good, Harrison Ashby, hasn't he, down in Swansea?
Yeah, I think he was just starting. I think he struggled a little bit to get into the side at first, found his feet, and then got injured. As with
like all Newcastle players do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think he'd come back up for tests and stuff. I'm not sure whether he's gone back there, but I think he was likely to be out for a little while as well. But he looked like he was starting to find his feet, getting game time, getting positive contributions on the field, both halves of the pitch. So you definitely is another one that you want to continue. And it's almost a shame for him, because if he's starting to perform and he comes back, he's suddenly behind two. When we said this, when obviously Livramento comes in, suddenly Harrison Ashby's dropped third choice right back. So I mean, potentially fourth if Emil Kraft's still around.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure Kraft. As good as he was when he come on, I'm not sure Kraft will be there for the long term. The likes of him and Manquillo, I think, will be sold on, and Harrison Ashby will be there.
Manquillo's out of contract this season, isn't he?
I think Manquillo will go probably free, but I think Harrison Ashby will be somebody they're looking to progress in, because he does have a lot of Trippier qualities in terms of his ability from dead balls. His pace as well. He's probably a bit quicker than Kieran. He's good defensively. So I think he is a good player, and I think he could come good for Newcastle. I really do. But it's exciting. We've got so many young players. We looked at a list the other day, and I think there was about 10 of them. And the oldest was 23, and Sandro Tonali and Sven Botman. The rest of them were all younger. So the future is really, really bright. But we'll be interested to see how the Lewis Hall thing progresses. But everyone's interested in it now, so I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. But just moving on to tomorrow night's game, Mark, quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup against Chelsea. We have got our lineup there. How we think the lads are going to line up. I've got some Chelsea team news here, so if you want to bang that slide up. So this is how we think the lads are going to line up. I think Eddie's going to go for this, Mark, because this is a huge game for Newcastle. It's a chance to win a trophy. So we've gone for pretty much the strongest side that's available right now. The only big change really we've got is Emil Kraft coming in at right back, who was brilliant at the weekend, and I think he deserves that chance to start, Mark, doesn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant when he came on. Like I said, he looked like he hadn't missed a step. He came on. I thought he marshalled that left hand side of Fulham's attack really well. Yeah, he covered for when Anthony Robinson was bombing on, and he kept the shackles on him pretty much right the way through. I just thought he had a really, really good game, and I think we'll likely see him start. Obviously, with Shaw being out, we'll likely see Burns swap to the middle, Tino switch to left back. There's the potential we could see Lewis Hall. I'm not sure he will,
maybe,
but we've seen it against Manchester United in the competition that he started, so it wouldn't be a massive surprise to see him thrown in for this, and maybe he's played with Tino or Kraft at right back and Hall at left back. But I think that's probably the way we'll see it. There's not an awful lot of options in midfield, so I think those three have to play. And then the front three again pretty much picks itself. I think Isak was really rested for the weekend. I think he needed that time off, or time away from it without getting any minutes whatsoever. He's looked really well. He's really struggled for sort of fitness. But I think that front three is pretty much picks itself. So yeah, I think that's what we'll likely see. But there's a couple of maybe different way you look at that back four, but that's probably the strongest lineup you can throw at them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are talking about Trippier coming into play, and obviously he can play in this game. But I think just that comment Eddie Howe made about how he is available, and I'm going to have a chat with him and see how he's fixed it. I think Howe's maybe looked at it, maybe saw Kieran's performances over the last few games, certainly the Everton game and the Spurs game, and he's maybe realising that a rest for Kieran's probably a good idea. And, we've got the business end of the season coming. He wants to push for top four. Obviously, we've got a massive game against the Mackhams in the Cup as well, which Trippier want to be at his peak for that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Trippier rested for this one. But Eddie is going to go win this game. But I do think playing Kraft there is not weakening the side. He's no Kieran Trippier, but I don't think he weakens the side. Tocoyne's saying he agrees with this. Rotate Burn with Botman later to protect their bodies. I think you're right, Tocoyne. I don't think Botman will start. Again, I don't want to risk him, for an injury, Mark. But that is a good Newcastle squad. I mean, looking at the Chelsea lineup, I mean, I think was it Christopher Nkunku was at the dugout on the bench, I think at the weekend. And it looks like he could be making his long-awaited debut. They're saying on the cards this week. They're missing loads of players. Fofana. Is it Chukwuemeka? I can never say his name.
Omega.
That's the one. Chalobah, Chilwell's obviously knackered. Surprise, Reece James is injured again. Cucurella, Sanchez, Lavia, is it Madeko? He's injured as well. So, I mean, in terms of what their lineup, you're probably looking at, is it Petrovic in goal, Gusto, is it Dezabi, Badiashile, is it, that's him, is it Matson, Caicedo, Fernandes, Sterling, Gallagher, Palmer, and Brozier. So still not a bad Chelsea side. Obviously, we dispatched them in the cup, didn't we? In the league, sorry, quite easily. So, hopefully we'll dispatch them in the cup.
Forward thinking, I like it.
I was going to say, yeah, we dispatched them in the league quite easily, maybe. But obviously, down Stamford Bridge, we're not travelling very well this season. How do you think this one's going to go?
I mean, I guess it depends on who they play. If you see the likes of Nkunku get his debut, he's highly rated. He's obviously been missing all season so far. They're a strange animal, Chelsea, aren't they? They just, every time you think they're starting to turn a corner, they get beat again, and then when they're on a run of bags, all of a sudden they'll pull one out the bag, and they were absolutely awful against Manchester United last week. And then they looked all right at the weekend again, and it's such a strange one, and it's not going to be easy. And I think I do think there'll be a few players that will they've got a few players that are trying to prove their place in their squad, and prove their place for their starting lineup. So I think they will come at it from a point of view where this might be their only option. This might be their only way to get decent European football, because what are they? They're 10th in the league. So it's an interesting one, because I think they will throw everything at it. But I just think that Newcastle have a lot more stability in their side. They have a lot more consistency in their play. And that's not a bad shout, Sean. I think I think you're right. It could be a 1-0, and if you get that goal and their crowd starts to get on them because they're behind again, then that could then lead into them starting to try and push things and make mistakes, and you end up with a couple then. But I do think it will be tight.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a tough game. I mean, Sportsmall have got us losing 2-1 in their match prediction. I mean, it's so tight. It could really go either way, Mark. It really could. I mean, if we show up and full of confidence and play the way we'll play at home, we could easily blow them away. But for some weird reason, that mentality away isn't there. We need big performances from Bruno, from Miley, from Wilson, Gordon. We need those players to really step up and do that job. And I think the midfield is probably where it'll be won, as you often say. You look at that midfield at Chelsea. That's how we won the game in the league. We dominated them in midfield. And I think Louis seems to have the beating of Chelsea at the minute, doesn't he? Seems to be his game. So you never know. He might come at this with even more confidence than he normally does. But I think after that game Bruno had at the weekend, you'd like to think Bruno would be crowing into this game, swaggering into this game. In terms of his performance, because he'll want to be the man and boss this game. But it won't be easy. I mean, if I was going to put me neck on the block, I would say my heart says Newcastle 2-1. My head probably says 1-1 draw, and penalties is probably what I think. I think it'll be such a tight game that we'll maybe just cancel each other out and go to pens, I think, mate, really. And then it's anybody's luck, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, what I said before, I think one goal maybe. I do think 2-1 is probably the right answer. I'm going to go 2-1 Wilson double.
2-1 for Newcastle. Yeah, good shout. Good shout. I mean, Callum's due a goal. He looked sharp at the weekend. He should have had a goal when he hit the post. And I mean, if Miggy hadn't tapped the second, then it would 100% been a pen, and Wilson would have tucked that away. So he definitely is looking. He is looking sharp, and I'll be looking forward to seeing Wilson at the back of the net. But listen, the lads know how close we were for winning this competition last season, and they want to get back there again. And with such big teams out, I mean, I looked at it. You've got Liverpool are playing West Ham, so one of them are going to go out. Everton are playing Fulham, one of them are going out. And you've got Port Vale and Borough as the other game. So the Newcastle have got a realistic chance of getting to a final and winning this competition against maybe on paper an opponent that they see is more than beatable. So I don't see any reason why our lads won't give it 100% and do their very, very best to win this game. And hopefully we will do. And we'll be back with a post-match review of this game, guys, tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. So make sure you jump in the channel in the lives, and hopefully we'll all be celebrating another cracking victory for Newcastle United. But just before we get into Out of Toon, Mark, we're over an hour now. We have got quite a few to get through tonight. But just before we get into Out of Toon, it's time to give away a prize, isn't it, mate? Come on down, Game Show Void.
Woo! I can't do the woos from the crowd. We need a button for that, don't we?
I was going to get the poppers and the streamers out. But yes, as we said at the start, we are over 6K thanks to you wonderful people who smashed that button. And we did do a video where we talked about the prize to give away. I don't know, we're going to still got the prize picture in here.
Didn't put one in.
You terrible producer, Mark. Slap you on the wrist. Shocking. Well, I'll fill some time talking shite as I always do while Mark's trying to pull himself out of the shit here. You're as good as them Good Morning Britain producers. Oh, look how quick you are. I'll take it back. You better. So this is the prize that you guys can win in the 6K giveaway. So it's a signed photograph. It's not the original. It's a copy from a brilliant artist called Matty. Is it Matty 723? I think it is.
Yeah.
He does loads of amazing work, not just Newcastle, all clubs, Man United, Liverpool, everything else. We got some draws from. Sorry, someone said I watched the Newcastle documentary. £1 million draws, bloody hell! I wish we had that level of clout to give away, Gary. My God,
we're not Mr. Beast levels yet.
You certainly wouldn't be seeing his kitchen in my living room if we had £1 million to give away, mate. We'd have a fancy studio, that's for damn sure. But yeah, so we've got these brilliant drawings to give away. The Bruno and Trip one is the first one. So we're going to do this now, Mark. You have a live draw. I'm going to hand you over to George Dawes himself, and he is going to run the prize draw here.
You're going to call me Debbie McGee there for some reason. To be honest with you,
not a lot, Debbie McGee. So come on, let's draw the prize, Mark. So Mark's got everyone's name in who commented.
Everybody's name is in here. I am going to pick out a random name. So we are using this nice random name generator from this. So good luck, everybody. Pick a random name. It's Gibbo7.
Gibbo7. Have we got Gibbo in the comments? I don't know if Gibbo's in the comments tonight. Is it? We do see Gibbo every now and again.
We do. Possibly not tonight, but well done, Gibbo. Congratulations.
Well done to Gibbo. We'll make sure that Gibbo drops us a message, gives us the details, sends us an email, and we will send that prize out to him. A couple of you guys in the comments have already won prizes already, so you know exactly how the situation works. We will send that brilliant prize out for you in the post, Gibbo, and you can find a good place for that on your wall, mate. So fantastic for you. And on to 7K will be the next target, guys. So get us there. If you're already watching for the first time or whatever, smash the button, recommend us to family or friends. It'll be absolutely awesome. So let's get finishing then, Mark, with Out of Toon. So there's been quite a bit to talk about in terms of outside of Newcastle United, and I'm going to start probably on maybe a bit of a somber note as well. We all saw the worrying scenes in the Luton Bournemouth game at the weekend when Tom Lockyer collapsed again. He collapsed obviously in the playoffs, didn't he? He had an operation to do with I think it was a heart issue, and he collapsed again against Bournemouth. It was shades of Eriksen. It was awful to see again. His manager was in tears. The crowd were phenomenal, by the way. The Bournemouth fans, the Luton fans, absolutely amazing. A lot of them, they were incredible, and rightly so. The players came out and gave them all a round of applause. But there was an update on Twitter from Luton Town because everyone was a bit worried about Tom Lockyer. So I'll just read this out. They're saying, while our captain Tom Lockyer remains in hospital following the cardiac arrest he suffered on the pitch at Bournemouth yesterday, we understand the supporters are concerned for him and that there's a widespread media interest in his condition. Tom is still undergoing tests and scans and is awaiting the results before the next steps for his recovery are determined. We were unable to provide a running commentary on the situation and request that all media please wait for any updates to be released via the club's official channels when the time is right. We all want the very best for Tom, his partner, Taylor, and the whole Lockyer family, and politely ask that their privacy is respected during this difficult time, because the press will be thirsty to find out what's going on with this, Mark. But I mean, it's scary though, isn't it? It's just it puts a lot of things in perspective, doesn't it? Really, in terms of what happened to the poor guy, and I'm not really sure. Maybe we'll see him come back on the pitch really after this being the second time.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, having sat through, and many of us did watch the Eriksen one in the Euro. That was terrifying.
It was
to see that happen, and just that moment the camera pans past and you just see him go down as the ball gets knocked back forward, and just you're sitting there going, oh no, not again. And for it to have happened so quickly is horrible. I mentioned this on Saturday. Look, our thoughts are with him, and I hope to God that he gets a full recovery and he can get back to the game. I don't think he'll play. He might. I just think it's just it is an awful situation. I think hopefully, I guess you kind of hope almost his doctors take it out of his hands and just say, look, no more. That's it.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will.
It is age as well. What is he? 29 now? 28, 29. That's it. It's you've got the rest of your life ahead of you. Take the opportunity to walk away with your head held high, and go and spend the time as much with your with your family, with your kids, and that, and he doesn't need to risk himself. And I know it's got to be a difficult thing for somebody to kind of walk away from when football's been. And he's one of those players that have gone through pretty much every level of football, and he's got himself to the promised land of the Premier League, and it probably goes away. And that's just, it is really saddening to see. But the fact that he was conscious, he was responsive on the field before as he was getting carried off. It was a real positive, and hopefully that's just more positive news to come in the next few days and months and stuff.
Yeah, no, it is. It's it is truly worrying, and I think the strain that these players are put under as well. It probably doesn't help either, But I think
I've just got rid. To be fair, I've just removed that comment.
Yeah, no, I to be fair, just seen that he was all right beforehand, but I think he stepped over a line then, and rightly so. Mark's put him in the bin, because that's not a joking matter at all, really. To be fair, so maybe just had a couple of beers and just maybe making a bit of a see you next Tuesday of himself. But you don't joke about people's conditions like that. So yeah, we hope that Tom Lockyer is I suppose just gets the right advice, really. But I really do think that there's no. I think that there is a moment in life where you get them crossroads. You have to make that decision. And as much as he loves the game and he's at the promised land and everything else, I just think that the decision probably will be taken out of his hands. I think, Mark, in terms of that decision. But we wish him well. I'm sure the whole footballer world wishes him well as well. So hopefully, he can recover as quick as possible. There was another bit of a sad bit of news as well. I think I've seen this kickoff. And fair play to David Wagner, the Ipswich manager, for calling for this. I saw some Liverpool fans do this as well, throwing beer bottles at the Man United bus. And I just don't get it. It's just a complete dick bag thing to do, really. But some Ipswich fans were throwing cans of lager at Delia Smith's motor when she was on the way to obviously the East Anglian derby, which I think ended 2-2 in the end. But fair play to Wagner. He's calling for these fans to be banned for life for doing that. I mean, that is so fucking dangerous, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? In terms of doing stuff like that, mate, that's just not on, is it?
Well, we've seen a few of this. I mean, if you go back a couple of years, was it the West Ham fans throwing stuff at the Man United coach again? But in London, and it's just, I mean, that's absolutely bang out of order. And another one just to these issues, the incidents with fans where they're massively crossing the line, and that you can throw a few verbals here and there and all that kind of stuff. We see it from fans right across the country about having having a bit of banter back and forward. But to start criminal damage, throwing stuff, endangering people, no, there's definitely no place for anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think for me, like you said, we all want to win the game, and there's tribalism and all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? But there's health and safety, of people at risk there. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, what's Delia Smith? She must be 106 now, is she? She cooked the dinner at the Last Supper, for fuck's sake. She's an old lady chucking cans of lager at the woman's car. It's just not right, is it? At all. Do you know what I mean? So I think fair play for Wagner. Ban them for life may be a bit excessive, I suppose, but you shouldn't be acting like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's not the way to do it. So I hope that we don't see that at the derby, in our game as well. I love a bit of banter and all that, giving a Mackham shit, but don't start lobbing cans of lager, either fans, at anyone's buses or anything, because it's just fucking stupid, man.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that does cross my mind with way that this is, the way this ended with this whole bubble travel to Sunderland. Yeah. Is there enough protection for as those buses are getting there? I mean, it's 6,000 fans heading in all on buses. Yeah. It's an awful lot. I hate to think it, but that's a lot of targets.
Lock up your horses. I'm sure that won't happen again. I hope it doesn't. Fucking hell. Has anybody seen that guy? He's not sniffed like 3 lines and gone looking a lamp silver in the face, is he, or something like that, or Black Beauty. So yeah, well, hopefully we won't have any bother in the derby. And we'll show those fans how to behave properly, mate. But moving on to something a bit more lighthearted as well. An old friend of ours made an appearance. He hasn't got a job at the moment. Well, you know who I'm talking about. He hasn't got a job at the moment. But imagine my surprise when I was sitting doing my daily Wordle with my little girl, and the Baron of Bacon himself appeared in the Wordle. Look at my guesses. I almost knew that he was there. He loves 5 at the back, so why not a 5-letter puzzle? I guessed Baron, and then I guessed Bacon. It was on my mind.
Brilliant.
Clearly on my mind.
It's almost. You look at those words though as well. It's almost a sentence. Alien stain began Baron of Bacon.
It's like Steve Bruce's CV, isn't it? He alienates himself in more of the clubs. He's a stain on your history. He begins a horrendous era of pure mediocrity, the Baron of Bacon himself. If I'd wrote twat at the bottom, twats, would that have probably been another 5-letter word? Possibly. That would have been the end of the Bruce regime. Yes, that did give me a chuckle, to be fair, when I did that one as well. But there was some other quite sad news as well, actually, mate. Ian Wright's leaving Match of the Day, isn't he, at the end of the season, which is a real shame because I like Wrighty on Match of the Day. He didn't say where he was going, but that's quite a shame, that, mate, isn't it, that he's leaving Match of the Day?
Yeah, I think he's 60 now.
I can't believe he looks fantastic for 60, by the way. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. I won't say what he said on his podcast because I can't say that, but fair play to him.
when you kind of consider that you remember him kind of breaking through in the late 80s, and you just think, and not quite. I know he came to the game late, but I kind of have that in my mind about him, and you just think, Christ, I feel old now that he's
60.
He's 60. But then you go through the fact that his kids have both begun playing and ended playing while we've been watching. You just think, oh my God. But yeah, I mean, I like Wright. I think he's a good pundit. He's
very honest, as David says there. Very honest, very funny. Quite. I think the older he got as well, the more kind of less allegiances he had to other teams. I think obviously when he first started, he was very Arsenal, which he still is now a bit. But he's not as
a little bit.
Yeah, he still is a little bit. The same as Shearer though, because they can be impartial and stuff. But Shearer wrote a really nice piece about him in the Athletic actually as well, just saying how he brightens up a bad day, and I thought that's a really nice thing to say about a bloke, isn't it? Because you can say that about somebody. They're a decent person as well, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I know there's a couple of comments in them about him. And again, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And like anything, not everybody is going to like what they do. But I do like him. I do like him as a pundit, and I just think he's going to be one of those My worry is, does this mean we're going to get more Danny Murphy?
What do you mean, Genus? Fucking hell.
Oh.
The one show host. Okay, now I tell you what. You're saying there, people have different opinions. Listen, I think that's the beauty of the world. But we're all very unique people. We're all wired differently, and we like some people, don't like some people. There was a comment about Jimmy Carr before, and I said that Jimmy Carr is about as funny as a wet shit on a cold day. I just don't find the guy funny in the slightest. But I think was it Ian said that he sells out arenas and stuff, because obviously a lot of people find him funny.
Enough.
Fair play, and same with Ian Wright. Do you know what I mean? I think you like him or you don't like him. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it was very good. It was very good to see the kind of outpour of affection for Wright. I think in terms of all the people that he's worked with. We haven't got a slide for it, but just quickly while we're talking about ex-players being pundits and changing your opinion of them. I hated Roy Keane as a player. I thought he was an absolute dickhead. But I love the way he took down Virgil van Dijk after the Manchester United Liverpool game when he said, listen, he needs to remember he's playing for a club that's only won a title once in 30 years. If our Man United fan wasn't being such a bell end, he would have heard that one. He would have really liked it. AP, they've offered you his place. Have you got a flat cap, AP? Have you got a flat cap is the question, mate. That's what you need to do. Get still in there. So, I can see you on Match of the Day, but I'm not sure you'd be able to be as impartial in Newcastle. I don't think I would be either. They couldn't have me on, I swear too much. The bleep machine would break, I think.
At least it's on after the watershed for you.
That's true. Simon's
Sunday
off.
morning rerun would be difficult.
Simon's off for a kip. Good night to you, Simon. Fantastic, man. So we'll just finish on a really funny story as well, actually. Obviously, 'tis the season to go on your Christmas night. I was in Newcastle on Saturday night, and I could see loads of people on their Christmas nights out. And if people don't know already, our very own Jacob Murphy does have a twin brother, Josh Murphy, who currently plays for Oxford United, I think it is. And Josh Murphy went on his Christmas night out in fancy dress with the best costume you could have possibly imagined. He went as his brother, Jacob Murphy, as you can see there, complete in a Newcastle kit with a sling on. Fucking superb. That's got to win costume of the year for me, Mark. That's brilliant, that.
It's phenomenal. I mean, so I guess for him it's so easy, isn't it, to do that? But yeah, it just that's just a brilliant way to do it.
Sorry, Gary's just done me there. Jimmy Carr's as funny as a bird in orphanage. Wow, that was better than my shit on a cold day any day of the week, Gary. Well said, mate. Richard's just asking, how can Lewis be pronounced Louis? I've no idea. You'd have to ask his mum and dad, Richard, to be honest with you, mate. I don't. Anyone know Lewis Miley's mum and dad? Ask him why. Why is it pronounced? Maybe they just wanted to fuck with you, just to wind you up. Just so all of his teachers said Lewis, and they went, actually, it's Louis. Just to, how the teachers always correct you? They were getting back at the teachers just to correct them, just to piss them off. So who knows? Maybe that was the evil plan altogether, to be fair. But Marcus didn't know Josh was still around. He is, mate. He's playing for Oxford, and he's full of banter as well, which is absolutely class. So well done, Josh. Superb. But that's us done, I think, for the show before Christmas, Mark. So I hope everyone's enjoyed it.
I'm just thinking comments as well, the way that this has fallen is this is the last one of 2023 as well.
Oh, it is the last. Is it the last? What's going on at 2023?
Because New Year's Day is the Monday, so this will be the last one of 2023 as well.
Well, there you go. And what a year it has been. What a year has been for us at Evermore. Thank you very much, Splat 1000. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much as well, 66. It's been a great year. We've really enjoyed doing the Monday night show. It's taken off a lot. You guys really enjoy it, and it's we've even got YouTube royalty like AP in the comments. So. we're hitting the radars, Mark. We're hitting the radars, but no, it's great. We really enjoy it. We're glad that you guys enjoy the content. It's been a phenomenal year for the channel, Mark, hasn't it? Really, we're totally humbled by how much you guys are enjoying it and the great comments that we get. We are very much a baby in this whole world of YouTube and fan-led media, but we enjoy it. We're just a couple of dads who talk about football and love it, and we're glad that you guys love it too. So I suppose it just leaves me and Mark to say, have a cracking Christmas, everybody, whatever you're doing. Love to your family and your friends. Have a great time. Let's hope Newcastle United can get us back to winning ways, get us at the semi-final tomorrow, beat Luton as well, and we'll be in a good position for when the fat man comes. So have a cracking one, everybody. Come and join us. Yeah, not Steve. No, not me. I'm over in Greece or in Portugal again, working on me tan for Christmas. We'll be back tomorrow with a post-match analysis, as we say, at 10 p.m. Come and join us in the live, guys. Have a cracking night wherever you're doing, and we'll see you later. Cheers.
Merry Christmas, guys. Take care.
Merry Christmas, everyone. See you later.